Hello, hello, hello. My name is Tiara Nicole Riley. I'm a motivational speaker, five-time published author, transitional life coach, and the owner of Rethinking Me, a life coaching firm. I'm very excited, very excited to talk about today's topic. We are kicking off a brand new series, and I want to talk about business. I've been in business. This will be year 8 that I've been in this entrepreneurial world. I've done a lot, I've experienced a lot. Most importantly, I've learned a lot. And I just wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I've learned throughout the years that can help you if you are aspiring to be a business owner. Now, let me just say, I am not the type of person that truly believes that entrepreneurship is for everybody, because it ain't. It just is not. Everybody is not meant to be their own boss, and that is okay. And we have to stop creating the narrative that if you're not your own boss, that you're lazy. Uh-uh. It ain't for everybody. However, I do truly believe that it is organically meant for a lot of people who are not walking in that space. And at my core, I actually believe entrepreneurship is biblical. And I say that because if you think back to the Bible days, there it's entrepreneurship. They just didn't call it that. Like everybody had their specialty, you had your craft, and you just did what you were organically called to do, right? So, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about some of the things that I've learned as a business owner. I will be clear and say I am a Godfident business owner, and I truly view God as my business partner. So, you will hear God in and out of these conversations. That's it. That's it. It's just shoot the messenger or don't shoot the messenger. I don't know. I don't care. Do what you do. But God will be in the discussion, okay? Because I truly believe that me being a business owner is me walking in my God given purpose. I can't talk about my God given purpose without talking about God. Like, it just don't work for me. So, anyways, so to kick off this series, I am going to talk about the 7 key lessons that I have learned in I kind of want to just say it's been my 7 years in business. I like a clean. And you know what? I found an eighth. So the 8 lessons I've learned, the 8 things, like key things that I have learned in my 8 years in business. There we go. There we go. And that's just that on that. Because I was going to do 7 because 7's the number of completion, but 8 for 8 years of business, I like that a little bit better. So 8 lessons that I've learned in my 8 years of business. Let's get into it. Number 1, I have learned that my purpose has to submit. I have learned that my personality has to submit to my purpose. Purpose over personality, 10 times over. My personality, I am organically shy. I am very introverted. I am very nervous to speak to people. Like I get anxious. I like it is difficult for me to show up and put myself out there, and I struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes, and I struggle with um like even with these videos, I'm like, well, who's listening? Is anybody actually going to tune in? Does anybody care about my opinion? Or even with all the books I've written, like every time I go to write a book, I'm like, but who cares about my opinion? Ugh. Right? That is who I am as a like my personality. But I have realized that my personality has to submit to my purpose. My purpose in this world is to speak, is to be an author, is to be a coach, is to put my it requires me putting myself out there, and I call it like flipping a switch. Like I literally like turn on. I literally do. If you've ever been to one of my events and then you also know me in real life, you're like, whew. And not that I'm like quiet and dry or anything like that, but I make an intentional decision to be on. Kind of how like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. Like I gotta come up with a new name, with a name for that side of my personality. Side note, I need a name for the old Southern black lady in my personality too. One day I'm gonna just name my personalities. Is that a thing? I don't know. Anyways, I have a stage presence, right? Like I literally tap into it. I turn it on. That's it. Because I realize like this is what I've been called to do. Being shy will not hold me back from that. Period. Point blank. Period. Second thing I've learned over the years is support is everything. Literally, support is everything. Now, a lot of times we tend to get frustrated, annoyed, bothered, which is so two and three are kind of connected a little bit. But we get bothered or frustrated when our friends and family do not support us. The third thing I've learned is that your family is not your audience. So, yes, support is everything. And also, your family and friends are not your audience. And you have to be honest with yourself and be okay with that. They may support you in the beginning. Like when I had my first book release party, everybody showed up. Then when it came to the second one, I was like, where y'all at? I had to realize I have to develop my own sense of support as an entrepreneur. I have to develop my own customer base. Like, I cannot depend on my family's support in order to make these events go. Now, there are some people that I may still invite to events and things like that, but I only try to do it when I feel like it's applicable to them, right? Like, I have reached a point where I don't want you to just come just to support me. I want you to come because I think this topic or this conversation or this product is actually useful to you. And and I have also gotten to the point where if I just want their feedback, then I'll give it away to my friends and family. Like, we have to stop expecting our friends and family to be our number one source of business income. Like, and that's just something I've learned over the years. But with that, support is still everything. So you still want to have entrepreneurs in your space where you can have honest conversations about what you're going through. I definitely value the people in my life that have businesses where I'm able to like have those conversations and, all of the things and really get clear about what it is that I'm looking for, what I need, ideas. One of my good girlfriends, we met through business and then we've eventually developed a genuine friendship and she's like family now and all of that. And she's been holding me accountable with different parts of my business and we're able to have a different conversation. So support is absolutely everything. And also, your family is not your audience. And that's okay, right? That is okay. But with that said, you always, which brings me to something, the fourth lesson that I've learned. You never know who's watching. You never know who's watching, ever. And I love that because it's so refreshing, it's so rewarding, and it's allowing you to, like, you just have to just do what you're supposed to be doing and trust that somebody's going to be watching, right? But when I get random messages or, just people reach out and be like, hey, I saw your blog post. Oh my God. I'm like, people actually read it? What? Or people be like, girl, I loved your YouTube video and I was talking about this and it was exactly what I needed in that moment. You never know who is watching. So keep doing what you feel like you're supposed to do, even if you feel like nobody's watching. Because at the end of the day, consistency is everything in business, right? But even from a spiritual perspective, if we know God will move heaven and earth for one person, maybe He's putting these ideas and these opportunities on your mind and heart for someone. It may be someone you know, it may be someone you don't know, but you don't know what God is trying to do with that thing that He's telling you to do. And that brings me to like the concept of obedience. Sometimes we have to obey God and do it when He tells us to do it. We don't know what other pieces of the puzzle are connected to our obedience, but delayed obedience is disobedience. And a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, I'll get to it eventually. No, if God told you to do something, do it. Do it. Do it. You don't know what is on the other side of that for you or the recipient. Just do what you like. If you feel it in your heart or in your gut or however God communicates to you, do it. Stop. Just cut it out. Okay? Be obedient. Delayed obedience is disobedience. That wasn't even in my little notes or whatever. So that was for somebody. Somebody needed to hear that. Which brings me to point number 5. God will provide. If you are doing what He has called you to do, He will provide. And a lot of times we presume provision to be financial blessings, which, yes. But if that's all you look at as provision from God, like you are literally limiting the God of the universe being on your side. God will provide people, He will provide resources, He will provide time, He will provide energy, He will provide capacity, ideas, opportunities, and customers. Right? Like, don't just settle for God will provide money. Okay, yes, and He'll provide purpose. He'll provide excitement. He'll provide energy to get through all the things He's called you to do. Literally. If He called you to it, He's going to give you everything you need to get it done. Now, if you are feeling like you constantly don't have the time or energy to do all the things you're doing, I would challenge you to look at your list on what you're doing and see, is all of it what God told you to do? Because as someone who is chronically involved in 1,500,000 things, when I'm doing what God has called me to do, even when realizing that God has called me to be multi-purposed, I magically have the energy and capacity to do all of the things. People ask me all the time, like, how do you do all that you do? Child, first of all, I'm organized. But second of all, like, God called me to it. So I trust Him to give me the energy to get through it, child. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. But God will provide. The sixth lesson that I have learned in being a business owner is that feedback is your friend. Accountability, feedback, surveys, questionnaires. Ask the questions. A lot of times people don't want to give feedback organically because we also know that, like, when you're a business owner, that's your baby, right? And so a lot of times people are nervous, scared, hesitant to give feedback because of the fact that they know this is your baby. But if you ask the questions and then you give them opportunities to give their feedback, you might learn a lot more than you probably could have thought or would have, whatever. But you really have the opportunity to learn and grow as a business owner with your whether you're providing a product or a service. Like, just ask the questions. And there are people out there that will answer honestly, right? And that's the only way you're going to be able to grow as a business owner. If you have employees, ask them their opinion. Like, be humble and ask for their feedback and see what they can do better. My daughter is only 2.5 at the time of this recording, but I look forward to being able to ask her, like, how can I be a better mother? I asked my team, like, what do you need from me? How can I be better service to you? I asked my customers, like, and when people come to events, we send out the surveys. Now, whether they complete it or not, that's neither here nor there. That's not my part. My part is to ask for the feedback and be receptive to it, right? And even when I'm receiving unsolicited feedback, I try to, you know, eat the meat, leave the bones, right? Um, and it's hard for me sometimes to get unsolicited feedback, I'm not gonna lie. Unless we have that type of relationship where we've already established that this is an open door feedback situation. However, I do try to be receptive to it and put my feelings aside and listen to what actually can be improved. Right? But also, feedback is your friend in a good way. Like, I also want to hear that things went well. I also want to hear what I got right. I also want to hear that I made these improvements and here's the intended result. Right? Like, feedback is a two-way street, but it's also a 360 process. Like, we want the good and the bad. Don't just come in my inbox telling me how horrible of a human I am, which I don't think I'm a horrible human, but I'm just saying, like, don't just tell me all the ways I can do better. Tell me what I got right. Like, and same with leadership. And we actually had this conversation at the Rethinking Me conference, but there's a study that shows that, and this is specific to leadership and like management, but obviously this applies across the board. But there's a statistic or a study that showed that it takes 7 compliments to outweigh one criticism for the recipient. In order to balance out one criticism, you have to give 7 compliments in order to balance that out. So if all you're giving is criticism, you're negatively impacting the relationship you have with that person and you don't even realize it. Into who's. Anyways, the seventh thing that I have learned in business is hire a coach. Hire a coach. And if you're looking for a coach, rethinkingmellc.com. I got you. But the analogy I like to use and how I like to explain it is if you are starting out and you're new in business or you're just trying to get things together, like the analogy I like to use is like you're going on a road trip, right? And if you're old enough to remember MapQuest, where you used to like print out the directions and it had turn by turn, but you just printed it out and don't get lost, don't get off the track, right? The equivalent to MapQuest is like Google or YouTube University. Yep. 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 And actually, that's probably like the paper map, right? Like the paper map is like Google and YouTube University, where you had the big old fold out map and you're like, let me figure out where I'm going, right? The MapQuest version is like how we have our boot camp, right? It may give you turn by turn directions. It's going to walk you through a process or any of these like pre recorded, bundled content. That is going to be your MapQuest. A GPS version is going to be hiring a coach. The GPS is going to help you if you get turned off or, off the road, or and it helps you get back and it recalculates and it helps you get back on track. All those things. Working with a GPS is like working with a coach. The coach is going to not only give you turn by turn directions, but they're going to give you guidance. They're going to give you support. They're going to go through this process with you. If you do not have a coach, you are reading the paper map. Now, if better was available, wouldn't you? Now, granted, that paper map is a lot cheaper than a GPS. It is. It is. It is. But wouldn't it be worth it? Hire a coach. Hire a coach. And the last thing that I want to end out and just wrap this conversation up with, just start. Far too many times we make these plans, we have these ideas. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. Oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. And then we get so wrapped up in the planning of it and we want every detail ironed out in advance. And sometimes you just got to do it. Just do it. Okay? Because you will learn more through doing and making adjustments, and again, seeking that feedback, and you have that support and you have your coach guiding you along the way. You will get more lessons and more accomplished, and you will get there quicker by learning as you go. There are some things you want to do in advance, but you don't need every detail ironed out. You don't. Sometimes, and they use this analogy to describe entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship is jumping out of the plane and building the parachute on the way down. Now, I wouldn't recommend jumping out of a plane in any context, but especially not without the parachute already built up. So I get how scary that sounds. But practically speaking, you have to just start. You have to just start. Otherwise, you're just talking. And if you're not doing, you're not learning. You're not growing. You're not going to get there if you just make the plan. You're just not. You're just not. Well, that brings us to our conclusion. And I'll just go ahead and wrap them up one really quickly just so you have them as well. Purpose over personality. Support is everything. Family is not your audience. You never know who's watching. God will provide. Feedback is your friend. Hire a coach and just start. If any of the gems dropped in this video have been helpful to you, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're the first one to know when an episode has dropped. If you are looking for a coach, definitely hit up rethinkingmellc.com and we will get you booked for your free consultation so we can figure out if we're maybe the coach for you or not. We'll let you know. We're not the coaching service where we're just going to presume we can help everybody. We want it to be a good fit. Anyways, schedule your consultation so we can get started. Again, just start. Just start. Thanks, guys. See you next week.